Everyone loves an underdog story, but few hit harder than this. In 2015, basketball fans were treated to a true spectacle that reshaped the high school landscape and set three brothers on a path to legendary status. Lonzo, LaMelo, and LiAngelo each played their part in establishing the Ball brothers as one of the greatest trios in high school hooping history. This is the game that launched a dynasty and shook the high school basketball world to its core. Welcome to the 2015 City of Palms Classic. On one side of the court, we have the Ball brothers and their small-town Chino Hills high school roster, made up almost entirely of homegrown talent. On the other side of the court, we have one of the most famous and daunting private schools in the nation. Montford Academy weren't just the bully boys of high school basketball, they were an NBA factory, attracting the best young talent and churning out future stars at an alarming rate. In 2017, USA Today named them the best basketball program of the decade. Montford was one of only 3 teams to be ranked inside the Super 25 every single year between 2011 and 2017, ranking first in 2013, 2014, and 2015. Over the years, they have developed many top 5 NBA draft picks, including Cade Cunningham, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, RJ Barrett, LiAngelo Russell, and Scotty Barnes. In 2015, they were at their peak, enjoying their 3rd year in a row atop the Super 25, and with a roster that had 4 future NBA players and 6 more who would go on to play D1 basketball. It really was a treasure trove of basketball talent. They entered the 2015 City of Palms Classic expecting to get back to winning ways, having earned the title in 2012 and 2013, but not in 2014. Head coach Kevin Boyle had led his team to the finals in 5 straight years, and a clash with Chino Hills in the quarterfinals of this 2015 edition appeared to be a formality. The Chino Hills Huskies were not a team associated with perennial success. However, in 2015, something special was brewing, thanks entirely to one family with the last name Ball. A trio of Ball brothers had sparked an unexpected rise in fortunes for the Chino Hills High School basketball team. They had kicked off the 2015 season with a 7-0 record, beating many of their opponents by 40 to 50 points. Lonzo Ball was the engine of the team, a 5-star point guard who could do it all. Always the smartest player on the court, there wasn't a defense he couldn't dissect or a pass he couldn't make, and you bet he could find the bucket as well. Throughout the 2015 season, he averaged a triple-double, with 23.9 points, 11.3 rebounds, and 11.7 assists. Alongside him was LiAngelo Ball, the team's leading scorer. He was one of the most reliable point scorers in the nation, firing in a whopping 33.8 points per game across his junior and senior seasons. Then, to cap it all off, their younger brother, LaMelo, was viewed as one of the most exciting up-and-coming talents in the nation. As a 14-year-old freshman in that 2015 season, LaMelo was a consistent contributor. Despite standing at only 5'9", LaMelo ran rings around his opponents, contributing as a scorer and distributor with 16.4 points and 3.8 assists per game. His flair and creativity were a sight to behold, and his confidence at such a young age was a sign of major things to come. When you add in the 6'9" freshman center Onyeka Okongwu, who is a menace at both ends of the court, and small forward Eli Scott, who is the perfect complement to the playmakers around him, you get a dynamic and dangerous starting 5. But that's all they had, and the high school powerhouse Montford were still viewed as the heavy favorite for the City of Palms Classic quarterfinal. Entering the game, the Chino Hills Huskies were 7-0, and the Montverde Academy Eagles were 8-0. The starting lineup saw the 3 Ball brothers, Okongwu and Scott, facing off against a talented Montverde roster that went 10 deep. The standout names were RJ Barrett, Anthony Simons, Bruno Fernando, and Michael Potter, who have all made it to the NBA. When you add in the opportunity to rotate in 6 other players who would go on to play D1 basketball, you have a Montverde Academy team who expected nothing other than to walk away from this quarterfinal with a win. So, let's get into the game. This quarterfinal took place on Monday, the 21st of December, 2015. With a big crowd and plenty of NBA and college scouts in attendance. The Eagles were ranked number 1 in the nation, but it was their number 3 ranked opponents who started best. The Huskies immediately had Montford on their back foot, surprising them with their up-tempo and aggressive offensive play. LaMelo Ball had arrived ready to run, and the diminutive shooting guard put his quick feet to good use early and often. You must be on your toes around these Huskies, and Montford were caught out a couple of times early by long passes to a full-speed Ball at the other end of the court. The chemistry between the Chino Hills starting five was on full display throughout the first quarter, racing out to a 26-14 lead with all three of the Ball brothers getting on the score sheet. This lead then stretched to 32-16 in the second quarter, with the Ball brothers assisting and scoring at will, showing off their pinpoint accuracy in both passing and shooting. It was box office entertainment, with those in attendance unable to take their eyes off the action. Not only was the swagger of the Ball brothers infectious, but the all-round performance of the Huskies was producing the unthinkable, a public school bullying a dominant prep academy. At times, they were literally running rings around them, much to the enjoyment of the crowd. Of course, you can't keep good players down for long, and you bet Montverde began flexing their muscles eventually. RJ Barrett showed why the Ball brothers weren't the only big names in town, getting to work with some good play of his own, helping Montverde cut the lead to just 6 points in the fourth quarter. Then, an RJ Barrett layup pulled the Eagles level for the first time all game. The score was tied 72 apiece with 2 minutes and 49 seconds remaining, and it appeared as if the fairy tale story wasn't going to happen for Chino Hills. Thankfully, Barrett wasn't the only clutch player on the court. The Ball brothers had been lighting it up all day, and now it was time to show that they could also bring out their best at the high-pressure moments. LaMelo, who was just 14 years old, remember, made the first move by notching a three-pointer, but the Eagles kept coming. Then, with under 30 seconds remaining, it was LiAngelo who found the target from deep to make it 81-77 to Chino Hills. LiAngelo then passed another crucial test in the dying moments, draining 2 free throws with just 7 seconds remaining to take the score to 83-82. The drama was far from over though. RJ Barrett quickly found himself in possession at the other end of the court, and when the ref blew his whistle for a defensive foul, he made his way to the free throw line with the chance to tie things up. Down by 3 points, and with just 2.1 seconds remaining, Barrett had 3 can't-miss opportunities to save his team. Shot 1, drained. Shot 2, drained. Shot 3, long. Lonzo Ball collected the rebound and scooted up court to safety. The Chino Hills Huskies had done it. By the thinnest of margins, the Ball brothers had led their team of unlikely heroes to victory against the powerhouse of all powerhouses. The public school had triumphed over the private school, and they had done it in style. Chino Hills fully embraced their underdog status and came out swinging, throwing Montford off their game from the start. They played with a ferocious energy, opening up a ton of scoring opportunities and took aim for points every time they got a look. In total, they had 73 shots, 44 of which were from deep, and there was nothing that Montford and their deep bench could do to slow them down. The Ball brothers combined for a whopping 77 points, which was 94% of the team's total, almost outscoring their opponents on their own. It was the ultimate team and individual performance, with each member of the Huskies playing their role perfectly. They also showed off their endurance, with all 5 starters playing almost the entire game, as was often the case for the Huskies. LiAngelo led the way with 32 points, as he so often did during his time at Chino Hills, finding the bucket on 4 3-point attempts. The freshman LaMelo executed his task of wearing out his opponents and being a general menace, firing in 16 points despite looking tiny in comparison to everyone else on the court. And finally, Lonzo delivered as the team's all-round leader, notching 29 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, and 5 steals, dominating in all phases. The kid was a superstar at the heart of the upset, and Chino Hills coach Steve Bayek made sure to shout him out after the game, saying he made unbelievable shots. You could not double him because he's going to make the right pass. I feel like I have the best player in the nation, and I think he proved that tonight. I think there's no question about it. The Ball brothers were truly elite all game long. But we can't forget about the other 2 starters. Onyeka Okongwu made his presence felt with 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block, and Eli Scott had himself a day with 12 rebounds. The bottom line is that these underdogs ran rings around their opponents and earned themselves an almighty celebration, shocking the nation in the process. RJ Barrett did his best to overcome the ball-induced storm, going down valiantly with 39 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists. Ultimately though, it's his final missed free throw that he'll be remembered for. Sports really can be cruel. With that missed shot, Montverde lost their first game prior to the City of Palm semifinal stage since 1998 and their first game in 30. For Chino Hills, however, the fun was far from over. They downed High Point Christian Academy 94-82 in the semifinals, with LiAngelo scoring 40 before facing the Patrick School in the final. This proved to be a nail-biter, extending into overtime, but it was the Huskies who prevailed. earning the title with a 66-60 victory in the end. The fairy tale story was complete. The small town Chino Hills Huskies were the City of Palms champions and the #1 team in the nation. The question is that 2015 Chino Hills squad the greatest high school basketball team in history? Let us know what you think in the comments.